Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Uncensored Critic podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. It means the world to me. Thank you very, very, very much. And today we welcome along a fellow actor and fellow Shakespeare enthusiast as well. Some of you probably know her already from Instagram and TikTok. That is the lady behind Shakespeare Made Clear, also known as Sarah Spring or Dame Sarah to those closer to her. For anyone who is unfamiliar with Sarah's work, let's take a moment to introduce her right now. So Sarah is an actor, coach, and Shakespeare enthusiast. She shares her knowledge of the bard across Instagram, TikTok, and even on Amazon with a link to her storefront full of recommendations on which book to sharpen your knowledge of Shakespeare. Link is down below in the description. She trained at the, I'm going to say, is it, how do you say it? Interlochen? Is that right?
Interlochen.
Interlochen.
Interlochen Arts Academy.
Arts Academy, thank you. And Fordham University at the Lincoln Center. She's worked on most of Shakespeare's canon. A few favorites include Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing, Isabella in Measure for Measure, Hermione in A Winter's Tale, Viola, Regan in King Lear, and Lady M, also known as Lady Macbeth. And her film A King's Curtain, starring Austin Pendleton, Stephen McKinley Henderson, and Charles E.Gerber, hopefully I've said that right, just won Best Drama at the LA International Shorts Festival. Probably a lot more to hear on that as we go on. There is no stone left unturned in Sarah's work, from the original pronunciation of possessive noun endings to the difference between the use of you and thou, the meaning of characters' names, the trochaic tetrameter, verse versus prose, monologues versus soliloquies, and how ultimately Shakespeare belongs to you. Social media platforms, again, links are below, are filled with helpful and accessible ways into the more complex and interesting areas of Shakespeare, especially those we didn't think to look for in the first place. Check out her socials, Amazon read list, and more facts for inspiring content. Also, if you're looking for one-to-one sessions for help with an audition or an academic assignment, you can book those via the link, again, down below, as well as follow her platforms for more regular and updated new facts and topics, helping you to enjoy Shakespeare and see his work for what it is. Astonishing, vivid, timeless, beyond beautiful, beyond clever, just the best writing you will read and that you will speak. But anyway, enough from me. Sarah, welcome.
Oliver, thank you so much for having me. And also, that introduction alone was so beautiful, you almost made me cry. I appreciate it.
Oh, no. Thank you for your time, Sarah. No, we were talking before we came on. I just absolutely loved your channel your page on Instagram. I think I just came across it by mistake one day. I just saw Shakespeare in the title and I thought, God, who's this? And like all the videos, man, honestly, I'm not just saying that because you're here. It's really inspiring, and just, you've rekindled a lot of love for Shakespeare that was kind of buried in me, but now it's come back out to the surface, and I thank you for that. Anyway, it's brilliant. No, but so we start at the beginning. So in your case, Sarah, where did it come from? The love of acting, Shakespeare, being in this business. Where did it come from?
I I knew I wanted to be an actor when I was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. I grew up watching classic films. I mean, I still remember watching Vivian Leigh in Gone with the Wind for the first time and being like, oh my God, what is this magic that she's creating? And I think a lot of actors have a similar story too, where they have, somewhat of a traumatic childhood. And so their imagination is their escape. And so you imagine yourself being somewhere else, and being someone else. And I grew up in a very small town in Ohio. And I got a scholarship to attend Interlochen Arts Academy in Michigan, which is just an incredible school. It's a beautiful, beautiful center for all sorts of arts in the middle of the woods. And there I had a teacher named David Monty, who is just incredible. And I took my first acting Shakespeare class. And I had read Romeo and Juliet in English class, and that I was fascinated by the language, but it didn't seem accessible to me. It just felt like a brick wall was there. But suddenly I started acting it and saying these words and learning how to investigate what was on the page and bringing that to life. And my teacher said, you have to be word intoxicated to perform Shakespeare. And I've
Mm.
always loved that description
That's a
because
good
it's this,
phrase. That's a good phrase.
yeah, it's this joy of being able to say these
Yeah.
beautiful,
Yeah.
glorious words. And so I got hooked. That's it. I got hooked.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say, we'll get on to like early kind of Shakespeare memories in just a second. But what was it like
Yeah.
being at the Interlochen and what was the other one? Sorry, I've forgotten already. Uh,
Fordham?
and Fordham University. What was it
Yeah.
like being at both those places?
So Interlochen is it's one of the most prestigious performing arts high schools in the country, and it in some ways it was the best of times and worst of times because you're surrounded by so many talented, brilliant young people, but at the same time it can be a little intimidating. And as most artists do, I had a huge inferiority complex. I thought it must have been a mistake that I was accepted here. Everyone here is so much better than I am. And then, especially when I got to Shakespeare, I realized, oh, that's not true. I love this. This is my jam. So
I love that. I love that. So, what was like the difference between yourself on like because you went to Interlochen first, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would you say was the difference between yourself on day one of Interlochen to graduation day? What was the biggest difference, do you think, between both days?
Oh gosh. By the time I left Interlochen, I knew I was a professional actor. Like I knew this is before it was a hope, it was a dream. And when I left, I knew, no, this is what I am doing for a living. This is my life. And it set me on the right track. I got accepted to Fordham at Lincoln Center, which is an incredible, incredible school in New York City. And so I went straight from Interlochen to New York, and I've been in New York ever since. And I just never would have been able to have that opportunity if I hadn't gotten to go to Interlochen.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like quite the journey and everything. So we're going
Yeah.
to jump into Shakespeare just in general. We've got actually two things. We're going to do a live dissection, I think, today. I've done this before, another episode, but we're going to do another one today because, just I want to get your analytical skills of Shakespeare into this somehow. We'll do a live thing, see how you work and stuff. But I suppose to begin with, like Shakespeare, what was we were talking before we came on. What was the first bit of Shakespeare that you read, if you can remember? I know that's a bit of a broad question, but do you remember what the first thing you read was?
So I don't remember what I first read, but I remember what I first saw.
Yeah.
And that was a production of Measure for Measure at Interlochen that students a year ahead of me were in. And I was so taken aback by the modernity of that play and and the beauty of the language and all of that. And ever since Measure for Measure has been maybe my favorite Shakespeare play. I've played Isabella twice. It's
Wow.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah. What is it about the play that's so good?
I love the ethical dilemmas of it. I love how do I want to say this? I People call a certain branch of Shakespeare's plays problem plays. And Measure for Measure being one of the best examples of a problem play. But to me, the plays themselves aren't problems. It's that they give you problems that you, the actor, get to solve, that you, the director, get to solve. Shakespeare doesn't give you all the answers. And so it can be interpreted in a gazillion different ways. So at the end of Measure for Measure, when the Duke asks her to marry him and she says nothing, that is so open-ended. She could accept it. She could slap him in the face. She could, I love that there's just this sense of unknowing in all of Shakespeare, and that's okay, and that you lean into the ambiguity of it.
Yeah, I love that. There's so many. I don't know. You've probably seen this as well, but there's so many different interpretations of Shakespeare. I mean, the list is endless. You know,
Endless. Yeah.
yeah. I want to ask you this actually. Something just came into my head now, which is some people can put, you can put Twelfth Night in like a jazz ballroom. You can put, let's see, what else can you do? You can put Much Ado About Nothing in like a Downton Abbey sort of setting. You can
Uh-huh.
put Othello in the army, which I know Nick Heitner, who was the artistic director of the National up until maybe about 10 years ago, did fantastically with Adrian Lester and Rory Kinnear. If anyone has the opportunity to see that a recording of it, I just implore you. It's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. Adrian Lester is a fantastic, not Iago, Othello, and Rory Kinnear is a brilliant Iago and everything. Yeah,
I'm
just
going to
like,
write that down. I haven't seen it.
no, honestly, if you can see it, if there's a way you can just watch it, it's just
Yeah.
phenomenal. Yeah, I think in a way, just quickly, I think Othello should really be called Iago because Iago has all the stage time. Well, Othello does has a good chunk of it as well, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
It's Shakespeare
brilliant.
does that sometimes. With Cymbeline is another example of it's not really Cymbeline's play. He's
Yeah,
almost a secondary character in the play that is named after him. It's interesting. Yeah.
yeah, it's fascinating. But yeah, no, so you could put all these comedies and the tragedies in different, but you could put Romeo and Juliet in. Well, you could put Romeo and Juliet anywhere, I think, really, can you? But the histories, some people say the history should be in the precise time. So Henry V should be in the 1400s with Agincourt. Richard III should be 1485, Battle of Bosworth. Because I remember someone saying once they saw a production of Henry V in the Gulf War, but Henry V's got nothing to do with the Gulf War. So what would you say to, should we keep the histories in the histories, or can you do something to make it look like a little bit different?
I think I think that there's a way to make it work. If you have an idea that really seems to suit itself to that, I think it can be done. I think it's probably more difficult than with other plays.
Yeah,
That's yeah,
yeah.
that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, what was like the craziest adaptation of Shakespeare that you've seen? You've gone along thinking, okay, I'm not sure how this is
Oh,
going to go down here, but let's give it a shot.
oh gosh. Well, the craziest, I've heard of some crazier ones than I've ever seen. One was a Merchant of Venice that was set uh, in Las Vegas, and they did the cask scene a game show or something along those lines. So people get really creative with them. I saw the Shakespeare in the Park where they did Julius Caesar, but Julius Caesar was Donald Trump, and that became a very, very controversial moment in America at that time
Yeah,
because there were protests about it. It's interesting how many different different ways you can tell the same story and find something new in it every time, even in some some very silly settings. But then you have something like Phillida Lloyd's Julius Caesar set in a woman's prison, which I think is
yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
yeah,
I've only seen clips of it. I didn't get to see the whole thing, but the moments I've seen are just, of course, that makes so much sense. I love that.
yeah, yeah. Is it Harriet Walters, I think, did that over here in the
Yeah,
UK? Yeah, yeah. That,
yeah.
and I've seen bits and pieces of that, but it looks so interesting. Particularly the scene where
Mhm.
Cassius and Brutus have that beautiful duologue, which I did for someone at GSA actually. Um, Yeah, it's that you have wronged me doth appear in this, but you've wronged yourself to. Oh God, it's been so long, I've forgotten it. You yourself to appear in times. Let me tell you, Cassius, you yourself had much an itching palm to sell and march your offices for gold for something. I can't remember. It's been a while, but oh, I love that
That's
scene.
great.
I love that scene so much. It's great. Yeah, I think I remember seeing Much Ado About Nothing actually set in when it was the Olympics over here. They did the RSC did all of his plays, but put them in a different country. And I saw Much Ado About Nothing, and it was set in
Oh,
India. It was
huh.
fascinating. Yeah, they're like
Wow.
Indian singers and music and everything. It was really, really like it was fascinating. I mean, I'd never seen it that way before. But anyway, I wanted to ask you this question actually, because one of your videos on your Instagram is you talked about the title "Much Ado About Nothing," and nothing is actually a term for, in Shakespeare's time anyway, mentioned for female genitalia, right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
that is correct.
yeah, yeah, and so Much Ado About Nothing. We read that Much Ado About Nothing. So what the play's about? Nothing at all. It's that actually no. It's a play about women and sexuality and urges and complicated love and everything. Yeah, what do you think about that? That title specifically.
It's one of my favorite of his titles because it's not just that, it's also noting. So the word nothing and the word noting were pronounced the same in Shakespeare's day, and so it's also much ado about noting. Could mean eavesdropping, like, oh, did you note that, did you hear that, which is also a huge part of the play. Music plays a huge part in the play, much ado about noting. And then yes, this dirty joke with female genitalia, and it's so profound at the same time as being so, it's a surface level dirty joke, because so much of the play is, just like you said, um, about women's bodies and the way that men try to control them, and all the drama that goes around chastity and all of that. It's fascinating, and Shakespeare understood women so deeply. Um, and you see a journey that happens from Taming of the Shrew, where it has some deeply misogynist,
Mm,
themes and all that. And then the same writer writes Much Ado About Nothing later, and it's to me, it's an improvement upon Taming of the Shrew, with this
mm.
lovers to enemy trope, but also him coming to a better understanding of women, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember we had to answer an essay question back in school, and it was, I'll ask you this question actually. To what extent is much ado about nothing about nothing?
Huh.
Hmm.
It's about nothing and it's about everything all at once.
Explain.
It's it's the big deal that we make out of things that should not be big deals. Um, yeah, now I'm suddenly at a loss
No,
for
no, no,
words.
no. Let's take your time. Take your time.
Yeah. It's just this idea of eavesdropping and overhearing and rumors and women's chastity and all of this. They shouldn't matter, but they do. These are nothing. They're not all that important in the grand scheme of things, but in the society that we live in, they are very important. So that's what I mean when I say it's about everything and it's about nothing at all.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely one of his, I think it's my favorite comedy, regardless. Yeah.
I I think so too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Benedict's speech. Yeah, well, there's two of them in very quick succession. I do much wonder how one man, seeing how much another man is a fool when he dedicates
Yeah.
his behaviors to love, becomes the argument of his own scorn by falling in love. It's like, it's always funny how you see people talk about love and think it's all a load of shit, but then he goes and
Mhm.
falls in love 5 minutes later. It's like,
Yeah.
how does
Sounds
that?
like a character in a Shakespeare play.
Yeah, how does that work? I don't know. I don't know. And then there's that one, and this can be no trick. Yeah, and oh, I love that line where he says, "By my troth, I have asked you. I have no. What was it? I'm going to paraphrase. By my troth, I have called you to ask you in for dinner." There's a double
Uh,
meaning in
Against
that.
my will. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Benedict and Beatrice are my favorite couple in the canon. Their names alone spell it out. Benedict means he who is blessed, and Beatrice means she who blesses. And they are so perfect for each other. Um, but they have to go through all of this craziness, all of this silliness in order to. We are too wise to woo. Oh my gosh, I'm misquoting, but um,
No,
yeah, we're too wise to woo easily, as I'm paraphrasing. But yeah, they're just there are a lot of couples who get married at the end of the comedies, and I think, are they actually going to be a happy couple? And I mean, at the end of Measure for Measure, for example, an argument could be made that none of those couples are going to be happy. Like, but with Benedict and Beatrice, I think those crazy kids are going to be all right.
I think they'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
also it's just funny how like love is so messy, and like you look at these two people right at the beginning and they have that lovely kind of duel off with each other, and then they go like, how are these two gonna end up together? And then they do end up together, and it's like love when you least expect it, and
Mhm.
yet it's bizarre how the people actually do find love in the end of the two people you never ever thought would get together in the first place. It's yeah.
Oh, and one of my favorite um, passages in Much Ado About Nothing is when Beatrice has her soliloquy, "What fire is in mine ears."
Mm.
Um, the entire time she refers to Benedict as you. She never calls him thou, which is the more intimate, more, in this case, romantic pronoun. She always is formal and distant with him. Even when he tries to call her thou, she never accepts. This is the one time in the play that she uses thou to address him. And it's because she's alone and because he can't hear her. And
Ah,
that just tells you so much about her character because she's brilliant. She's funny. She's gorgeous, but she's so guarded and she uses her humor as a defense mechanism. And I know so many people like that. It's such a human thing. And so to see her drop her guard, not only use thou, but to speak in verse for the first time in the play and in a shortened sonnet, it's stunning. It's such a beautiful moment.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's got some fantastic lines, doesn't he? I think it's another one in Hamlet. I think where he says, again, I'm going to misquote here, but something like rank corrupt. One of Hamlet's lines is like rank corruption buried deep in the earth, like infects us or something. I'm heavily paraphrasing there, but it's just so many things can from 450 years ago. They're still prevalent even today, and despite and you were talking about the comedies, but if you look at something like Titus Andronicus, I mean that scares the living crap out of you. Honestly, he knows how to make you laugh, but he knows how to make you scared at the same time, right?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I love about Shakespeare is that he
Yeah.
has so many colors on his palette. Like he's not just a master of comedy and tragedy. He's a master of romantic comedy and history and farce with something like Comedy of Errors, but then horror with Titus Andronicus. The range is just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, there's a yeah. I won't talk about that moment in particular, but
Yeah.
there's a yeah, something happens to one of the female characters. I remember seeing a production of it, and they brought her out, and like she wore this thing where her hands had gone, and she got blood all over her face. I won't say what happens to her, but just and the way the actress played it, she was just so still. She was just so still, and just that one look. I remember at one point she just turned her head a little bit like this.
Uh,
There's no emotion whatsoever with all this like fake blood on her and stuff, and it's just I just look. I remember looking at her, going, I felt physically sick, just like and your imagination does the work for you, but it's yeah, it
well, and
was
that's just such an excellent example of stillness, the power of stillness on stage as an actor, that she barely had to do anything. She just turned her head.
yeah,
You only move when you can improve on stillness, and that's powerful. It's very
yeah,
powerful.
yeah. Oh, it's incredible. Now I'm going to ask you a weird question here now, but
Okay.
have you ever walked out of a Shakespeare that was done badly?
Yes, yes, I have.
Well, explain which one do you have?
I don't want to say. I don't want to be rude to the company, but
Yeah,
it
sure.
um it was so boring.
Really?
It was so boring. It had some, name actors in it. Actually, there's one that I walked out of. There are a few that I would have liked to have walked out of, and and many of them were on Broadway, like
Yeah,
very big name actors, big budget, all of that.
we won't say who.
I won't say who. I'm not going
No,
to name names,
no.
but the thing about Shakespeare is that just because you're a movie star doesn't mean you're going to be good at Shakespeare. It's a
Yeah,
specific skill set. Like it requires many of the same, the basic what's your objective and all the regular actors speak, but it is a specific skill set nonetheless. And if you don't spend the time to learn it, you're going to bore your audience. It's just it's and I think sometimes because I know so much about the way that Shakespeare's verse works, sometimes it can be like someone with perfect pitch hearing a choir singing flat.
Yeah.
And that was also part of one of the reasons I wanted to start this channel, because I was like, I want actors to be better at Shakespeare. I want them to understand this and also not be so afraid of it.
Mm.
Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I remember feeling like you did it in school, right? You know, you used like
yes.
Shakespeare. I remember, did you ever like get a copy of? I remember there's one time we had Romeo and Juliet, and we all took turns to read the parts, and like
Mhm.
you know, and I remember some people just reading the parts, and then looking back now, I just the way that they read it, I was like, no, you're not, no, no, oh God, it was. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because there's an actress over here called Denise Goff, and she said exactly the same thing as you did, and she said that you know, these guys, they get the big movie parts, they get like paid millions of dollars, everything, etc. They go to the theater, they choose the biggest parts, and then 9 times out of 10 they fail because they just it's not the same. It just goes if
Oh,
you can have status. Don't get me wrong, you've got status, like yeah, well
mhm.
done, but can you do
Yeah,
Shakespeare? No,
yeah.
no.
Well, and some of the worst Shakespeare I've ever seen has been on Broadway. And some of the
Mm,
best that I have ever seen has just been my fellow students in
yeah,
class, watching
yeah,
people get up and do the work, and such nuanced, gorgeous work. Like it really has nothing to do with status or scale. It has to do with the specificity of your performance and the dedication to the craft, you know.
yeah, yeah.
It should be empowering to anyone. Like, you can be a great Shakespearean actor. You don't need my permission. You don't need anyone's permission. You just have to love the text and do the work.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like just we'll get on to our speech dissection in just a moment, but I want to ask you about a video you did very, very recently, I think only yesterday or this morning, in fact, where you talked about the difference between, you know, I'm not speaking as a Brit here, I know, but you said that we have the edge on speaking Shakespeare compared to like you guys on Broadway and stuff. And then I love the response video that you did, like how to insult people with Shakespeare and stuff, and some of the comments that you had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just ignore them. They're a bunch of idiots. But
Well, thank you.
yeah, but what is it about our accent, I think, that gives us? I know you've done a video on this, but since you're here, what is it about us that gives us the edge over you guys, do you think?
Well, I think for Brits, first off, you live and breathe Shakespeare. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
much a part of your education and your actor training.
Mm,
And I've heard some people say that they're starting to do away with that to focus more on acting for film and that sort of thing. And I think that's a travesty. I think that's devastating. I think
mm,
that the Brits are hands down excellent at Shakespeare.
mm,
Um, with Americans, one, I think we're not taught it as well. We're not often. There are some brilliant teachers, and I have been so lucky. Like, the reason I love Shakespeare is because I have had brilliant teachers who
mm,
unlocked this language for me. But a lot of people don't get that opportunity here, and the language can seem daunting and just kind of opaque. It's hard to find your way into it. Um, but specifically with the accent, I think we're very accustomed to hearing Shakespeare performed in a British accent. Our piece specifically, but yes, in various regional British accents. Um, and there's this kind of long-standing idea that you can't perform Shakespeare professionally if you don't have a British accent.
mm,
And it's just not true. It's so harmful, and I hate that. I actively work against it, in that I think that Shakespeare sounds beautiful in all sorts of accents. Um, I think that your accent is so much a part of who you are. So why would you not bring that to your character?
mm,
And when we study Shakespeare's original pronunciation, the language it's essentially the great grandfather of so many different accents. It sounds Irish, it sounds Appalachian, it sounds Scottish, it sounds Newfoundland. It really just shows that there is room for every accent in Shakespeare, and that this language can sound beautiful in every accent.
mm,
Um, but I think with American actors specifically, one, we have a tendency towards monotone, men especially. And because Shakespeare's language is music, if you're performing it in a monotone, it
Yeah.
sounds really boring. And two, we have been, acting styles in America in general have been very informed by the method, for lack of a better word. And so we tend to work very inside out, which is extremely great for film and television and all that. But when it comes to something like Shakespeare, there is a bit of outside in acting. And I think Brits have a better handle on that,
Mm.
leaning into the heightened language.
Yeah, because I know you mentioned I need to read this book actually, but Shakespeare, The Man Who Pays the Rent by Judy Dench,
Mm.
which I know
Yes.
I know you've done a video on as well, and that's on my to read list now. Actually, I need to read that book. It looks incredible, and you speak of it very, very highly as well. Now we're very I think you mentioned this as well that we're very lucky over here. We've got Ian McKellen, we've got Patrick Stewart, we've got Judy Dench, we've got
Oh,
Maggie. Well, we did have Maggie Smith, God bless her, and but we still got her in spirit and on videos, etc. We've got Derek Jacobi. We've had these amazing ghosts: Richard Burton, John Gielgud, Laurence Olivier. Just we're spoiled for choice. I mean, if I may say so
yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, sorry, we will get on to this. I've just got so many stories keep
No, it's
popping
all
into my
right.
head,
I love
honestly.
it.
And I just want to just touch very quickly. We're going to look at a speech in just a second, but one thing I want to mention today was the power of Shakespeare and what it can do to an actor. I don't know if you've ever had an experience where you finish a monologue and you've just gone like, wow, or you're in tears, or you're just like, what the hell have I just said? It was so brilliant. There's a fantastic story of Laurence Olivier. I want to get this in actually.
Yeah.
He was at the Old Vic, and oh, I can see your cat's eyes behind you. Look at that.
Oh.
Yeah, it's shining. But yeah, hey buddy. There's a great story. He was doing Othello. He was playing Othello rather controversially, actually. In
Yeah.
the yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But he something. There was one performance when they were at a place called the Old Vic, and that was the National Theatre at the time. And obviously, the National and the Old Vic are different now. But something happened that night. We don't, no one really knew what was going on, but his performance just became elevated and elevated and elevated and elevated to a point where actors were gathering in the wings and looking around, just wanting to catch a glimpse of what was going on. They couldn't believe what was going on. They just saw this absolute divine performance from Olivier. And at the end of the show, he got a 20-minute standing ovation. The audience simply wouldn't let him go, and then eventually he gets off stage and he makes a beeline down for his dressing room, and actors are gathering, like when people stand either side of you as you're walking through, and they're clapping and they're going, wow, Larry, you were superb, Larry, you were superb. And then he goes straight to his dressing room, opens the door, slams the door, locks the door, and then through it they just hear tables being overthrown, chairs being thrown, things being snapped in half, and they're going, what the hell's going on? Anyway, they all leave him to it. And then the stage manager comes around like maybe an hour or so later, knocks on the door and goes, Larry, can I come in? And he goes, enter. So they go in and they sit down and he goes, Larry, what's wrong? You were sublime. Everyone saw you were sublime. You were unbelievable, superb. And he looks at her and he goes, I know I was. I know I was good. It's just that I have no idea how I do that again.
Uh-huh.
And he was so he was like, something happened to me there, but how the hell do I get that back? And oh, incredible.
It's just that story says so much. Because
Mm,
sometimes, I mean, I feel like 95% of the time when we're acting, it's craft. But that small percentage of the time when it is something just divinely inspired hits,
yeah.
it's transcendent. It's transcendent. I guess the closest I have to that is once when I was performing Hermione in The Winter's Tale.
Yeah, yeah.
I was doing the famous speech, "Sir, spare your threats, the bug which you would fright me with I seek," where she's she's has nothing on her side but the truth and right. And her husband, who she loves so much, is out of his right mind.
Yeah.
And her children have died. And it's just such a devastating moment. She's trying to defend herself and all that. And I finished that scene and I could not stop crying for a half an hour after.
Wow.
I had the scene itself gave me a panic attack. And
Seriously.
that's the power of that language. And it's scary when you lose control like that. I mean, I'm sure it was a brilliant performance. Everyone, was like, "Oh my God, Sarah, what was there?" And it's almost scary when you tap into those levels because you
Mm.
feel like you've lost control. And again, you don't know how to make that happen again.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah. You
Yeah.
have to take care of yourself when you're performing Shakespeare too. You got to leave the character in the room when you
Yeah,
go
big
home.
time. Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love what
Yeah.
you said before we started recording, actually. I want to get this in. I don't know
Mm.
what witchcraft he summoned at any point.
Yes.
Not just in the Scottish play, but in general, where did this come from? There's some other forces that surround these plays. We just can't describe them. I know you said you haven't been to London yet, but when you come to London, you've got to get yourself to the Globe. The energy in that place is you can't find it in any other theatre in the world. And I know that's a broad statement, but I'm just saying it anyway. You will
I
not,
believe you.
you just don't get that anywhere else. And I just want to say one last thing. God, there's so many stories keep popping into my head, but there's
It's
one.
okay.
There's one from. I remember we were talking about Macbeth, and there's a certain superstition that comes with saying that word, particularly when you're in a theatre. I know
Mhm.
some people can't say it. That's why we say the Scottish play, etc., or Lady M, or the Scottish King, etc. And there's one production, I can't remember where it was, but it was in London, and they were doing Macbeth, and the director didn't care about the superstition. He just said it all the time. He said Macbeth, Macbeth, Macbeth. Just said it all the time. He's like, it's all nonsense. Don't worry about it. And then come opening night, there was one open spare seat in the front row. Every other seat was taken apart from that one seat. And then during, I think, this one sword fight, one of the tip of one of the swords came off and shot directly into the audience and went into that empty chair. And from that moment
Huh.
on, he never said it again. Yeah.
It's a superstition that I don't mess with.
No, no.
I know. It's a matter of respect to me in a theater. You don't say the M word. I know there are different rules around it too. Some people are like, "Oh, you can say it if you're referring to the character, not the play."
Yeah.
I, I don't mess with that. There are enough things that can go wrong with theater as is in any production. Like I don't need to tempt fate.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh man. Oh, so we could rattle off these stories for ages. But anyway, let's get some of your analytical skills. Let's jump into the
Okay.
text. So we're going to look at one of my favorites anyway, which was Mark Antony's one from Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 1. He's discovered that Caesar has been murdered and he is alone with the corpse, and he gives this unbelievable speech about how this will not go unanswered. So do you want to read it? Do you want to read it?
Sure.
Yeah,
I
please.
I mean, I I'd like to go ahead and break it down line by line if that's okay so we can understand it
Yeah, of
if that
course.
works.
Yeah, let's go for
Um,
it.
he says, "Oh, pardon me, thou bleeding piece of earth, that I am meek and gentle with these butchers." So he's in a precarious circumstance where he is the right-hand man of his best friend who has just been murdered, and he has had to be polite and respectful with the men who murdered his best friend. And in order to keep himself from being killed, he has to play along like he's going to be on their side and play nice. And Elizabethans were very superstitious, and the belief that the spirit was that Caesar's spirit is still there. And the first thing Mark Antony does once the men have left is ask for Caesar's pardon. Oh, pardon me, thou bleeding piece of earth. And he refers to his body as earth because that he's not alive anymore. He's human. He's become earth. That I
Mm.
am meek and gentle with these butchers. Thou art the ruins of the noblest man that ever lived in the tide of times. What a gorgeous phrase, tide of times, and the
Tide of time.
alliteration there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
yeah. Woe to the hand that shed this costly blood. And what's interesting here is that in the first folio, which I always like to go to the first folio
Mm.
to see what has been changed in modern editions, especially with the punctuation. The punctuation in the first folio is much more geared towards actors and how the actors probably would have performed it.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, yeah. I always use first folio punctuation when I'm working on a script. They have fewer end stops, like periods, question marks, and exclamation points. And those in the first folio mark the end of a thought. And it's helpful for actors because we don't think in lines or
Mm.
sentences. Humans
Yeah.
think in thoughts. And that is the last period in this script after the word blood. The rest of this is all one sentence. And so that tells you so much about Mark Antony's train of thought, that it is continuous, it is building, and this verse itself is actually really pretty regular. There are a couple trochees in here where instead of an iamb, which is unstressed followed by stressed, iambic pentameter, bum 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 bum. Uh, Occasionally you'll have a stressed syllable followed by an unstressed syllable.
Hmm.
Um, there's one or two of those in here, but otherwise it is a very regular speech, which tells me that even though he is in this horrible state of grief and anger, that his thoughts are clear.
Mm.
He knows exactly what he needs to do to avenge Caesar. Um, Over thy wounds, now do I prophesy. That's the first trochee, over thy wounds, emphasizing the fact that he is literally standing over the body of his
Mm.
friend who has died, which like dumb mouths do ope their ruby lips to beg the voice and utterance of thy tongue, of my tongue.
Yeah.
This imagery here is so stunning. He's comparing Caesar's stab wounds to mouths that are ruby with ruby lips because they're bleeding.
Yeah.
And that these wounds can't speak, they're dumb,
Yeah.
but they're begging for his voice, his tongue to speak for them. And
Yeah.
that is what he's going to do.
Yeah.
God, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, and it's almost like how big these gashes are. And we think about like the size of our mouths and everything, that's one, you know, that's one hell of a wound. That's one hell of a
Yeah,
wound. Yeah, I never thought about it. I just jump in very, very quickly. So you mentioned the
please.
iambic pentameter and trochees and stuff. What's a trochee exactly?
Yes. So Shakespeare uses something called anomalies, where we iambic pentameter is just your heartbeat, bum 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 bum,
Mm.
right? But if you notice when you read Shakespeare, not every line seems to fall perfectly into that bum bum
Yeah.
bum 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 bum, bum pattern. So what he does is kind of like a jazz musician who's improvising over the bass melody, the beat underneath. He'll put uh, a little eighth note here or a little syncopation here. And a trochee is instead of bum bum, unstressed, stressed, it's the opposite. It's stressed, unstressed, bum bum. And that a trochee is usually used in Shakespeare either to perk up the ear of the listener to a particular word that the audience really needs to pick up on, really needs to hear,
Mm.
or it often catches it often reflects the agitation or frustration or impatience of a character.
Mm. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I also, and we'll get on. And also, I think one thing I was taught by someone called Jack, and she taught us that if there's like when the line where it says "Woe to the hand that shed this costly blood," and the copy I've got here, it's got an exclamation point next to it. When you see punctuation. That's like the end of a thought, like a full
Hmm.
stop or a question mark or something. That's the end of that thought. Now we move to the next one, and that prompts the next thing, and then that's helpful when you're learning lines, etc.
Very much so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also this is in verse as well. So,
Yes.
so very quickly before we continue, what's the difference between because he has another speech actually, what is one of his most famous ones, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears," and oh no, that's verse as well. But
Well, but there's an excellent example there because right before he goes into that, right before Antony goes into that famous "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears," Brutus has a speech that begins almost the same way. He says, "Friends, Romans, lovers," I believe, and
mm,
that speech is in prose. And whereas Brutus' speech does not move the crowd
ah,
at all in the way that Mark Antony's does. And
no,
that
no, no,
get
no.
into that speech, and that's a whole other
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, difference between verse and prose for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like so. Prose is like a one sort of like continuation, one block of thought. There's one thought, but blocked out over a course of however long the speech is. Whereas verse is like it chops and changes all the time, right?
Prose is how we speak. It doesn't
Yeah.
follow set rules and patterns the way that verse does. Verse we know is bum 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 bum, but prose can be anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fascinating. But where do we get to? So, which like dumb
Oh,
mouthed ope their ruby lips? Yeah.
yes. A curse shall light upon the limbs of men, domestic fury and fierce civil strife. The One of my favorite things about this speech is the the use of the sounds of the words. Because
Mm,
Shakespeare gives information to his audience not just through the meaning of the words themselves, but through the way that they sound. So in this line, domestic fury and fierce civil strife, the actor can use that to the frustration,
yeah.
the anger, and the determination. It's just such an opportunity that Shakespeare gives you with language like that.
Mm,
Um, Domestic fury and fierce civil strife shall cumber all the parts of Italy. Cumber is such an interesting verb. Like
mm.
I think we use the word cumbersome probably more often, but that it will be weighing down. It will be it will be all over Italy.
Yeah. We'll cover all parts of Italy. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Blood and destruction shall be so in use, and dreadful objects so familiar that mothers shall smile when they behold their infants quartered with the hands of war.
Wow.
Jesus,
I
that
mean,
mothers,
that's a dark thought,
yeah,
isn't it?
so dark, that atrocities will be so common that mothers will just smile when they see their children chopped into bits. And here in the first folio, the word war is spelled with two R's.
Mm.
War. And in the original pronunciation, that this is a big difference between OP, original pronunciation, and received pronunciation. And what we're used to hearing a lot of Shakespeare performed in now.
Mm.
The R's are so strong and colorful, and it makes the language grittier. And that's actually an advantage that Americans have on Brits when it comes to reforming Shakespeare. That this hard R sound is so powerful, especially in a speech like this. Um, all pity choked with custom of fell deeds, and Caesar's spirit ranging for revenge, with Ate by his side, come hot from hell, shall in these confines. I keep going, but
Yeah.
Ate was the goddess of destruction and undoing and recklessness and ruin. So that Caesar's spirit is going to come with Ate, this embodiment of ruin by his side, and that they are going to cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. And to cry havoc was a battle cry on the battlefield saying, it's time to plunder. It's time
Mm.
to,
We go to war now. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And again, the phrase dogs of war. in original pronunciation, it would have been more like the dogs of war. That's really what it would have sounded like. And it sounds like what it is. You know, it
Yeah.
colors that word so much. That this foul deed shall smell above the earth with carrion men groaning for burial. And here we have a trochee on the word groaning. It makes the word groaning stick out, with carrion men, and that imagery of men who are about to die, who are starting to smell, who are crying, groaning to be buried. Like the imagery is just so upsetting and
Mm.
but specific. And that I who's the actor that you sent me like you sent me a
Uh,
clip earlier after
I,
performing this.
I did, yeah. Someone called Ray Fearon, who I'll just see if I pronounce his name right. But no, I remember watching that. Give me one second, one second. Uh, yeah, Ray Fearon. Yeah, he did a production. He was Mark Antony in a RSC production back in 2012. So yeah, in the
Yeah.
I mentioned them Indian Much Ado earlier. They did Julius Caesar in Africa, and
Uh,
it's wow, wow, that was something. I remember watching at university. We had to watch it for something, and I was still sort of
yeah.
getting used to Shakespeare, like not really understanding what he was saying, blah blah blah, but still had an interest. But I remember, so yeah, that was his performance from that, and I remember sitting in my chair going, "What the hell have I am I listening to right now?" And particularly when he said, "Let's slip the
Yeah.
dogs of war," I remember saying to someone afterwards, he was a clever fucker. He was a clever guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let that imagery, let's slip the dogs of war. You've seen these dogs, like the violent ones, the Rottweilers or the pit bulls or something, and you see them like foaming at the mouth and barking and the teeth. And then someone with
Let
a
them
leash
off
just
their leash.
off the leash goes, "Do your absolute worst." Off
Yeah.
they go.
Uh,
Wow.
it's so the thing the thing I love about metaphors and similes, good metaphors and similes in Shakespeare specifically, but in everything, it's easy to think of them as being this like woo-woo, abstract, flowery language, right?
Hmm.
But what it does is it actually grounds abstract emotions. This idea, this concept of war,
Mm.
it's hard to conceptualize that. But when you appeal to your sense of smell or sight or feel, all that, it grounds it. Dogs of war. Suddenly, you can't think of a concept of war, but you can visualize the Rottweilers being let off the leash, and it
Mm.
becomes more real. And this whole speech is so full of him appealing to the senses that
Mm.
it's going to smell of carrion men, that the cry havoc. You're going to hear the sound of it. You're going to see the sights of babies being quartered. Like it's incredible. The imagery in this speech is just oh stunning.
I
I love
mean,
it so much.
yeah, no, me too, man, me too. I remember I think there's so many different ways. Because you mentioned earlier about from which bit is it from? Over thy wounds now do I prophesy, and pretty much right to the end with carrion men groaning for burial. That's all one sentence. Therefore,
All
that's
one sentence.
one thought, and it's him just reeling off, reeling off, reeling off, reeling off, reeling off. Like his mind's
Building.
got is gone. His mind's not there anymore. He's just
Hmm.
speaking from his soul or from his ego, whatever it is you want to call it. But his sadness is coming out in anger, and he's
Yeah.
so. And I mean, the way that Ray actually did it in the production. I remember he shakes the hands of all the assassins. He shook all the hands, and then he waits to be alone, and suddenly all that stuff he has to push down and push down and push down suddenly just goes off, like like
Yes.
like Hiroshima. It just goes off, and
And that's just Shakespeare understanding human psychology of like having to suppress that, to
mm,
suppress his grief, to play nice with these people. And then suddenly we finally see him alone and he just gets to cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. He gets to let it out and it comes out in this speech. And
yeah.
stunning.
I know. Yeah. What did you think of Ray's performance? What did you think of
Oh,
him?
I think that's the best performance of this speech I've ever seen. I highly recommend anybody who's listening. It's on
Yeah.
YouTube. It is powerful and it is incredible.
Yeah.
Uh,
I put
one
a
of
link below, guys. Go check it out. I mean,
Yeah,
down below, Ray, Fear and Doing It. Watch it.
gorgeous.
Just watch it. Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to point out too
Yeah.
is that in the first folio, um, a lot of words are capitalized, seemingly at random. And in modern editions, they take those random capitalizations out.
Hmm.
But it's a theory among, Shakespeare nerds like myself that the words Shakespeare chooses to capitalize were the important words that he needed his actors to get to remember in the speech. And so in this speech, just as an example, the words earth, butchers, ruins, noblest, tide
Hmm.
of times, prophesy, ruby, tongue, curse, domestic fury, civil, objects, mothers, infants, spirits, war, revenge, hell, confines, monarchs, dogs of war, carrion, burial. If I just list those words, it gives you the sound of this speech.
Yeah.
And that's fascinating.
Yeah. And it's just all these things, you mentioned, yeah, there's so many ways that you can also performance do it as well. I remember seeing one guy at the RSC doing it. I wasn't impressed by it at all. He was trying to be like slow and not obeying the rhythm, and I'm just like, ugh. But there's another version which kind of did that. It's a very famous version. It was from the film when he did it. It was Marlon Brando.
Hmm.
When he did it, he obeys the rhythm, going. Come all the parts of earthly blood and destruction, be so in use and dreadful objects so familiar. But with Arte by his side, come up for hell shall in these confines, cry havoc, and let slip the dogs of war. And obviously it's different because it's film, so it's a little bit more
Hmm.
subdued. But
Yeah.
and I love that the camera came straight in on him. He goes, and also what that this foul deed shall smell above the earth, with carrion men groaning for burial. It's just the way that he was able to do that. The sound man was actually right there. But
Yeah.
there's so many ways you can do it. But I feel like as long as you're obeying the rhythm and know what you're fucking talking about, then
Yeah.
yeah, don't be like pretentious about it. Yeah.
Well, there's so many people who just think iambic pentameter, like no understanding the verse and how anomalies work and all that. They think, oh, that doesn't matter. It's there to help you. It's
Yeah.
the scaffolding that Shakespeare has given you for your performance, and it's there to help you find the right words to emphasize and all that. And it's just like if you have that available to you, why wouldn't you use it? Don't work against it, work with it.
Mm.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. And also it's not technically a monologue, it's a soliloquy.
Mhm.
Because this is to the audience, and then obviously he's joined actually by a servant, so a little bit later. But this is, and I think Shakespeare takes these, we call them soliloquies, because it's a conversation between the actor, well, the character, and the audience. And the audience is like, I mean, it's a lot of times in Shakespeare, the audience becomes like a confidant. It's like,
Yeah.
this is what's going to happen. Watch me do this. Shh,
Hmm.
you can't say a word. Watch
Hmm.
this. And then it's fantastic with it. This one, brilliant example. Richard III. I mean, Richard III, his
Oh,
entire, I mean, all of his lines are to the audience. I mean, all soliloquies and stuff. Iago. I'm sure there's others as well. Oh God, I'm just going to rattle off one from Richard III, if I may. If I may.
of course. I
Uh,
love Richard III is my other maybe favorite aside from the
Yeah, yeah.
I love it.
It's not the most famous one. It's not Now Is the Winter of Our Discontent. Or I could do that. But it's another one. I'm going to see if I can remember it because I know Ian McKellen did a very good version of it
Mhm.
back in 1990. Well, I wasn't alive then, but there's a recording of it. But he looks down the camera or to the audience and he goes, "I do the wrong and first begin to brawl. The secret mistress I said approach. I lay into the grievous charge of others. Clarence, whom I indeed have cast in darkness, I do beweep to many simple gulls, mainly to Stanley Hastings, Buckingham and tell them it was the Queen and her allies who set the king against the Duke, my brother. Now they believe it. To be revenged on Rivers, Dorset, Grey. But I sigh, with a piece of scripture tell them, God bids us do good for evil. And thus I clothe my naked villainaire in a hold ends, same holy wit, and seem a saint. But most I play the devil. But soft. Here come my executioners, and
That was fabulous, Oliver.
oh
That was
god,
great.
shush, 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 shush. But no, I remember seeing that and going, wow, just it's funny. I mean, I remember he made it funny. It's like
Oh yeah.
it's funny. It's like you know this guy's evil, but you want to follow him.
My favorite thing about Richard III is you can track the audience's how do I want to say this?
Mhm.
Richard III makes the audience his accomplice. He gets us on his side with these fun, charming soliloquies where he's basically like, I'm about to do something. Just watch. Oh, did you see just what I did there? Yeah, yeah. And so we, the audience, have so much fun watching him behave horribly. And it's like we're in on the secret, right? And towards the end of the play, those soliloquies disappear. He stops having them. And that's when he starts to lose us on his side. That's when, and I think in a really good production of Richard III, the audience can sometimes feel a little guilty of like, oh my gosh, how have I been on the side of this monster the whole time? He's been doing these horrible things, but I've been along for the ride. I've been enjoying it. And I just think that's so brilliant.
Mm.
I saw this is the best Shakespeare I have ever seen performed in real life
Yeah.
was Sam Mendes' production of Richard III starring Kevin Spacey.
Yes.
And I hate that it was so brilliant,
Yeah.
but and I even get kind of sad that,
Yeah, me too.
it was incredible, but also it was a sociopath playing a sociopath, which is probably why it was so convincing. But Sam Mendes, like I will watch anything he directs. He's
Oh yeah.
so brilliant with Shakespeare, especially. I like I said, it's one of my favorite plays, and watching it, I forgot that I knew what was going to happen next. I
Yeah.
was on the edge of my seat, and that's how you should feel watching Shakespeare. This language is anything but boring.
I know. It's but I was going to mention actually the that one. I think it was run by something called the Bridge Project or something.
Yes.
And I was going to mention that because that production, especially the what was not ensemble, but all the other parts were shared between American and British actors. And I think, and it was on Netflix for a while. They did like a behind the scenes documentary about it, which at the time was one of the best things I'd ever seen. I absolutely loved that film, but I can't watch it anymore. I can't.
I know.
I can't.
It's so
It's sad. It makes me sad. Like you say, it makes me
Yeah.
sad. And I was going to mention that with a certain Kevin involved, but I was lucky enough to interview actually someone called Jack Ellis a couple of years ago. He was in that. He played what was the character? He was Hastings. He played Hastings, who is executed just like that at the drop of a hat, which actually did happen. In real life, there's a story of Richard leaving the room and came back and accused Hastings of being a traitor. And because he had the power, he just went, "You're a traitor." "No, I'm not. No, you're a traitor because I say you are. Kill him." And they did. And they took his head off. Yeah, I asked him about that, and I said, "Yeah, how was it? How was it that experience?" And he said, "Well, from his point of view, he enjoyed it. And." He mentioned Kevin like in passing and stuff, but anyway, I don't want to talk about Kevin Spacey too much. But,
Yeah.
but no, I agree with you that production, from what I saw of it, I didn't actually see it, but yeah, you're right. It was a sociopath playing a sociopath, and that's why it was so convincing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I just hate that it like has tarnished that experience. It's just
Yeah, I was such a fan. Anyway, not anymore.
Anyway.
Anyway, moving on. So
Yes.
we have But no, there's a clip. I'll send you to it. I'll send you it. It's on YouTube of Ian McKellen doing that, Richard III, and just the fact that he found this joy. I think for the line where he goes, "Has set the king against the duke, my brother." And now they believe it. They believe it. I got,
Oh,
kid, I got him. I've got him. And you're like, what? And this is like, and not only is it entertaining, but you're just like, what? I want to follow this guy. I want to follow this guy. Did you
yeah.
see? Did you see Benedict Cumberbatch's version
I
at
did
all?
not.
Yeah,
No.
he did. There's a series over here called The Hollow Crown, and it was he played yeah, well, Gloucester before he becomes Richard III, and
Mhm.
he's a very, very good Richard III, very, very good. How well do you know Henry VI, Part Three? Do you know of it at all?
I've read it. I've seen it once. But I'm certainly familiar with it.
Yeah, and there's a brilliant speech in there which Gloucester kills the king and go. It's actually one of the speeches I used for drama school, and it was
Mhm.
God, can I remember it? So I don't mean to make this episode all about me. Sorry,
No, I love it.
but he says, "Oh no, hang on, yeah, give me a second. Um, I don't have neither pity, love, nor fear. I've often heard my mother say, I came into this world with my feet forward. The women cried, and the midwife said, Oh, Jesus, bless us, he is born with teeth, and so I was, which clearly signified I should snarl and bite and play the dog. You know, I love that. And obviously, one thing you see from actually that into Richard III, you see a character who was, he's physically disabled as well. He's got he says he's got this envious mountain on my back. My arms shriveled up. And I walk like this. I don't walk like a man. I walk
Yeah.
like something that God got wrong or something. And you see, that's actually a broken, depressed man, but he hides all that looking for power, right? I mean, I don't know if you've ever come across that before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of people are like that. They use their insecurities to uh, their insecurities drive them for
Hmm.
power. Um, I think that is one of the things about Shakespeare is that human nature hasn't changed much in 400 years. And
No,
so when you
no.
get to know these plays and you get to know these characters, you're just like, oh, I know that person. Oh, I am that person. Oh, yep, this is familiar. It's
Yeah,
why it's again one of the reasons we keep performing him.
I know. Super.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's another monologue that you like to fit from your one? It can be female, male. What's one that you can do?
Oh, that I can do. Lady M is one of my go-tos. Constance from King John that I
Yeah.
feel like people don't uh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
What would
Wait,
you like?
I'm going to put you on the spot now. I'm sorry,
Okay.
but
Okay.
which first one that comes into your head?
All right. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts. Unsex me here, and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty. Make thick my blood. Stop up the excess and passage to remorse, that no compunctious visitings of nature shake my fell purpose, nor keep peace between the effect and hit. Come to my woman's breasts, and take my milk for gall, you murdering ministers, wherever in your sightless substances you wait on nature's mischief. Come, thick night, and pall thee in the dunnest smoke of hell, that my keen knife see not the wound it makes, nor heaven peep through the blanket of the dark to cry, Hold, hold!
Wow,
Ah,
wow, that was incredible.
thank you.
That was wow. You saw someone giving up their soul to the devil there,
Yeah, it's so
and
exciting to her. It's
yeah,
so scary, but also tantalizing.
yeah, and she's the villain of the piece as well.
Hmm.
She is the villain, man.
With
Yeah,
a capital V.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Did you see Judy Dench's version? The one.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
I love her version.
That's the definitive Lady M, in my opinion. Yeah. Everyone else doing it from now on. Good luck. Good luck. Yeah, but the exception of you, of course, you'll be on
Of
parallel with
course, of
that.
course.
But yeah, everyone else, yeah, good luck with that one, guys. That was
Huh.
insane. But yeah, no, I mean, there's so many we can just go through. I mean, of course, I'm
Yeah.
just reminded of another one, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow.
Hmm.
Creeps in this. Oh God, I'm sorry, I'm going to go off again.
It's okay.
Creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life is but a walking shadow, a poor player who struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Nothing. Signifying nothing. It's like what is life? What
It's
is it?
meaningless.
Yeah. What is this
Hmm.
journey that we shuffled off this mortal coil? Of course, to be or not to be as well. God, yeah, God, we could be here all day talking.
We
Just
could.
we really, really could. Yeah. Was there another one? Give me some King John. Just King John.
Okay. Grief fills the room up of my absent child, lies in his bed, walks up and down with me, puts on his pretty looks, repeats his words, remembers me of all his gracious parts, stuffs out his vacant garments with his form. Then have I reason to be fond of grief? Fare you well. Had you such a loss as I could give better comfort than you do. I will not keep this form upon my head when there is such disorder in my wit. Oh, Lord, my boy, my Arthur, my fair son, my life, my joy, my food, my all the world, my widow comfort, and my sorrow's cure.
Love it.
So she has some gorgeous, gorgeous speeches in that play, and
I know.
I think it's a little underrated.
Yeah, I need to. I haven't actually seen King John yet. I haven't seen it all the way through. I need to. I need
Yeah,
to watch it now.
yeah.
There'll be some version out there. And on that note, let's look at some love stuff, shall we?
Yes, please,
Cool.
please.
Let's look at a sonnet. We'll probably look at one of the most famous one. I think it's the one that everyone I think knows. It's number 116. So
Yes.
so before we do the analysis, why don't you just read it out? Let's just go
Go ahead.
through. Let's do a read. Go ahead.
Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out, e'en to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved.
Incredible, incredible. I love it. Cool. Dissect.
So,
Let's go.
okay, so this sonnet has always fascinated me. I think the way that most people interpret it is that it is this beautiful speech about this universal definition of true love. what love is.
Yeah.
And you, like you said, you often hear it read at weddings. It's the wedding sonnet. It's in Sense and Sensibility. It's and so I think most people understand it as let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Now, this is a reference to the wedding, the marriage service in the Book of Common Prayer. It's basically that point in a wedding where you say, does anyone have any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony? Speak now, forever hold your peace, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's saying, let me not come between true love. I don't want to interrupt a wedding, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Anyone want to say anything at all? We good? We good?
Yeah, anybody, any impediments?
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I got to sit down.
Yeah. And love is not love, which alters when an alteration finds. That
I love that
love,
so
yeah,
much.
love doesn't change when circumstances change or when people change, that it stays the same, or bends with the remover to remove. Remove, that's an interesting word. And I think it's the even if you leave the relationship, even if there is a separation, a breakup, the love doesn't go anywhere. It's
Mm,
still there. The love doesn't bend with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is an ever fixed mark. And a mark is like a lighthouse or some sort of structure that's used to guide ships. And it's an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. Through even the worst storms, it is still withstanding. It is still there. It is the star to every wandering bark. A bark is a ship, again, with this nautical imagery. And he's saying that love is the North Star that guides lost ships, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. You can't, you can measure height meant altitude. You can measure the distance to the star, like, but you can't give it a worth.
mm,
You can't put a value on it. Love's not time's fool. Love is not time's plaything. Uh, rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. This bending sickle, it's the imagery of the Grim Reaper and equating time with death.
mm,
And that, yes, time has sway over physical beauty, which is a constant theme throughout the sonnets. But it doesn't have power over love. Love
mm.
is love bears it love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out. It hangs in there, it sticks through it, even to the edge of doom, even to doomsday. Love exists. If this be error and upon me proved, if I'm wrong about this, then I never wrote anything,
Yeah.
and no man has ever been in love.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That said, it exists in a context where it falls in Shakespeare's sonnets is really interesting because quick overview of Shakespeare's sonnets, but the first 126 fall into a group that are referred to as the sonnets to the fair youth that
Mm.
Shakespeare. Now, some people claim that they are not autobiographical, and I just say denial is a hell of a drug. They are absolutely autobiographical. Um, the first 126 are written to a man, the fair youth, a young man that is very womanlike. It reminds me so much of Orsino falling in love with Viola while she is
Mm.
in the guise of Cesario.
Yeah, when
Um,
she's dressed as a boy, yeah.
yeah. It's like, oh, I wonder if this is the same author, huh? Um, he's in love with a man. And the final 28 sonnets belong to this sequence to the Dark Lady. And some people, depending on which scholar you ask, she was Jewish, she was Black, she has dark skin, dark complexion.
Mm.
Um, and so anyway, this particular sonnet falls towards the end of this cycle with the fair youth,
Yeah.
and their relationship doesn't end well.
No.
Um, and the sonnets right before this there's this whole mini sequence where Shakespeare has cheated on the fair youth. He's been with someone else, And then pretty shortly after is the end of the relationship. And so that placement of this sonnet has always kind of given me pause. In addition to it's unique in that he's most of the sonnets are to a particular person, or he's talking about a particular person. There's a distance in this sonnet. He's talking about love. Who is he talking to? Why is there this separation? There are only two other sonnets that are like this. And
Mm.
I love is defined in the negative so much in this speech. Uh, love is not love that alteration finds. Oh no, it is a never fixed mark. It never shaken. Love's not time's fool. Love alters not. Uh, error. I never writ, nor no man ever loved. And it's almost defined in the negative so much that it perks my ear up. Like, why are we spending so much time defining what love isn't?
Mm.
And also, if you look at the the first line with the iambic pentameter, I'm of the opinion that always assume it's regular first.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then the emphasis falls on the word me. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments.
Mm. Let me not
Let
to the
me
marriage.
not. And the sound of that to me is almost a little defensive. Let me not to the marriage. Let me not to the
Yeah,
marriage of true
that's
minds.
interesting.
And the
Yeah.
word admit has about three different meanings. It could be let me not allow impediments to come between true love, or let me not acknowledge that there are impediments to true love, or let me not confess that there are impediments to love when I know that there are,
Mm.
which is just interesting, interesting. And the final the final couplet, if this be error and upon me proved, I never, this also sounds somewhat defensive to me. I never writ, or no man, if I'm wrong about this, then,
Yeah.
you know. And so I've always kind of looked at this sonnet almost as a last ditch effort to save a relationship on the brink
Mm.
of ending.
Yeah.
Of Shakespeare saying, love is the love, this is not what love is. Love doesn't alter when an alteration finds. Love doesn't remove with the remover, doesn't bend with the remover to remove. The idea of him saying to his lover, like, the way you love me is not love. The way I love you is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. That it's a star to every wandering bark. That's the way I love you. And if I'm wrong about this, then I never wrote anything. Then
Mm.
no man ever loved. And there are just so many dark undertones to this sonnet to me that I think I'm not sure I would read it at a wedding. I didn't, obviously you can interpret it that way. And that's one of the things that's so brilliant about Shakespeare, is that on its own, yes, it can absolutely be this gorgeous sonnet about the definition of true love.
Mm.
Um, but it can also have a darker interpretation. And that's, again, that's just totally Shakespeare. It can be interpreted 1,000 different ways. And
Yeah.
I just find that fascinating.
Yeah. It's yeah, I mean, I never heard this sonnet being spoken about in being defensive in any way. You never heard that
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Well, and also the sonnet that comes right after it, Sonnet 117.
Mm.
Often Shakespeare writes sonnets um, that are thematically linked, or one will be a sequel to the
Mm.
other. He sometimes writes double sonnets,
Yeah.
and the next sonnet is so similar. It has so many common links to this one that it can't
Mm.
be ignored. The final couplet is the same. Instead of proved and loved, it's prove and love in Sonnet 117. And
Mm.
Sonnet 117 continues all this like legal jargon that is also present in Sonnet 116. He says accuse, repay, bonds, purchased, proof, appeal. and
Mm,
also similar words, mines, hoisted sail, this nautical imagery, errors, proof, and it's enough to kind of make you think, oh, do these sonnets maybe even go together? And the point of the next sonnet is, yes, I did all of these horrible things to you, but I did it to test your love,
mm.
which is kind of a messed up thing to say. Like again, Sonnet 117, if you want to go into, if you want to read it at home, but um, it's almost it's almost gaslighting. It's almost victim blaming. I did all these horrible things to you, but I did it to test your love. And I almost view it as to see if it would bend with the remover to remove, to see if
Mm.
it would alter when an alteration finds. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I might bum people out saying that I think this is kind of a darker sonnet than at first glance, but
Yeah, no, no, no.
it's just fascinating to me. I think that there are so many layers uh, to discover with this sonnet.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because people always see like the language and stuff, and they claim to know what they're talking about, but secretly, for like when you delve in and like we've done today, and I'm sure you've done many times before, and I certainly
Yeah.
have done many times before, is like when you go into it, and then suddenly you discover these images and the imagery, like earlier with Cry Havoc. Oh, mothers shall but smile when their infants are courted with the hands of war. And suddenly, when you get that image in your head, you're like, oh, wow, this speech is not just nice words, dark, dark images, which we're talking about here. And, I think, and there's a big debate actually. You've seen Shakespeare in Love, right?
Yes, it's been a
Yeah.
minute, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's been a while, but yeah, there's a scene where and this might be a bit controversial actually, but the two of the Lady Viola, as she is before, it's Viola in Twelfth Night because he writes Twelfth Night at the end of it. Spoiler, sorry.
Mhm.
And he, yeah, they're in an intimate moment and they're undressing each other. And she said, "Well, I've never undressed a prince before." And he says, "Well, it's a mystery for me too." And there's a lot of people. I know you did a video about what you said was Shakespeare's gayest sonnet as
Mhm.
well. And like you say, the
Absolutely.
first is it first 126? Did you say to the fair youth?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, you said something earlier as well, which was whether that was a different writer or such. But where do you subscribe to that belief? Was it one person, or was it Marlowe? Was he involved? Was it a group of them? Where do you stand on that?
I tend to stay away from this argument with a 10-foot pole because people get
Yeah,
very, very passionate about it.
I'll bet they do. Bet they do.
What I will say is I definitely see the work of the same writer in the sonnets and the plays.
Of
It's
course.
so clear, it's so clear to me, like that parallel I drew between Twelfth Night and Sonnet 20,
Mm,
and his love for the fair youth. But it almost feels like Twelfth Night is a play of wish fulfillment for him,
mm,
thinking that the the fair youth in the end will turn out to be a woman all along, and that they can be together and live happily ever after. And the subtitle of Twelfth Night is "What You Will" or "Whatever You Want," um, and that's what Shakespeare wants. I don't know. It's just interesting. Um, but I will say, of all the authorship theories out there, I do find the De Vere theory to be uh, compelling enough that you can't ignore it. Um, I don't know. I would not at all be surprised if multiple people collaborated on these plays. That's just the creative process too. Like, I know a lot of people think Shakespeare was a woman. That
mm,
never I've never really seen much merit in the argument, although it's interesting. But I wouldn't be surprised if women had influence on Shakespeare, or if women contributed, certain things to like that. That wouldn't surprise me.
mm.
Um, I but I the important thing to me is that the plays exist,
Yeah.
and that they are stunning and gorgeous, and they're, I think, one of the greatest inheritances that we have as a human race.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in the authorship theory, there's a really good book called Shakespeare Was a Woman and Other Heresies by Elizabeth Winkler.
Hmm.
I recommend that because it's a really solid academic dive into all the different theories. And the simplest is just Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare, and
Exactly.
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
his son was named Hamnet. He wrote Hamlet. He had twins. He had a set of twins, and then he writes two twin plays. Like it's you know, I that's all I'll say on the subject.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. I was going
Yeah,
to ask you about the De Vere theory, but I think we'll leave that there. We'll
we'll
leave that.
leave that. I'm not. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. We'll leave that one there. We'll leave that there. But but it's true. Like you say, Hamlet there, and of course, I think, of course, anyone who doesn't know, he had a son called Hamlet who tragically passed when he was really, like, really, really young. And
Yeah,
I think out of that was born the most famous monologue of all time, "To Be or
yeah,
Not to Be." And it's just the thing is, right? That yeah, it's the one that everybody knows, right? It's the most famous lines in all of world literature.
mhm,
People hear it again and again. They go like, "To be or not to be." And oh, for fuck's sake, here we go again. Here we go again. Particularly in like audition pieces and stuff. But you can conquer all that amongst like any other celebrated Shakespeare monologues like "Cry Havoc" or "Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow" or "Now is the Winter Fire Discontent" or "Ill Met by Moonlight, Proud Titania." All these. I'm sure there's many other, especially like female ones as well.
yeah,
If you just follow the words, if you know the words, follow the rhythm if it's in verse, and deep into take a deep dive into the imagery and keep going back to it and really understand what it is you're saying, then that it can be like hearing it for the first time. And
yeah.
yeah, I don't know if you've seen productions of Hamlet, right?
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
don't know about you, but before "To Be or Not to Be," there's like I think Derek Jacobi talks about this. There's like a tangible silence which falls over the audience because
Mhm.
it's the one speech to which everyone knows, and to hear it spoken live, I think, is a real pleasure. It's a
Yeah,
moment that you just go and you
yeah,
listen.
yeah.
You listen, man. It's
Well,
amazing.
and it can be intimidating as an actor performing a speech like that because everyone knows it, but also everyone thinks they know it. Everyone thinks they understand what it means. But when you approach it as if you've never heard it before and really look at what's there and what's to be discovered, kind of like we just did with Sonnet 116, it's
Mm.
like it appears to be one thing, but it could also be all these other things.
It's a darker tone to it now since
Yeah,
talking to you about it now. It's like, oh yeah, I never thought about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
There are when you look at, I think we tend to talk about Shakespeare often in English class with like a broad brush. We talk about themes and ideas and big picture. And I think as an actor, you develop a different relationship with Shakespeare because it's all about the detail. It's all about is the emphasis on this word or on that word? What, why did he choose this word in this place? The specificity of it, and really looking at what is on the page.
Mm.
It's just that's where, to me, that's where the good stuff happens. I always look at it like a puzzle. Like I'm trying to solve a puzzle. I'm looking for treasure in finding all the moments of magic in this script that I possibly can.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
just wow. We're right. Just got a few more things left for you, Sarah. Then
Sure.
we'll finish up. But I just want to get this story in, and I'll ask you if you've had something like this as well.
Mm.
So I lost my granddad a few years ago, and he had I don't know, it's fine, and he basically now that I've seen a few adaptations of King Lear, I see looking back and in retrospect, I see King Lear in my granddad and how he passed. He had dementia, unfortunately, and there's something about, and there's Simon Russell Beale. I don't know if you know that actor's name at
Oh,
all.
I love him.
Yeah,
Mm.
incredible actor, incredible. But Sam Mendes did King Lear at the National with him as the title role. And if you haven't seen it, it's that's another one I'd recommend to watch as well. It's stunning, absolutely stunning. He did some proper medical research, and he found that he believed that Lear had something called Lewy body dementia, and it's something that not only do you lose your memory, obviously tragically so, but you have visions, and they're not good visions. Like you don't see ghosts at the end of your bed. You see dogs. You don't see anything good at all. You live your worst nightmare, and you think that it's reality. It's a cruel disease, and it's an awful way to go. But anyway, but then I mentioned that because Anthony Hopkins, and there's another recommendation, by the way. Anthony Hopkins did the version for it for screen, which in my opinion is a definitive King Lear. He's just you can't top that. Anthony Hopkins is just phenomenal. Yeah,
Incredible.
yeah. The one thing I will say about that is that I loved it, and it was perfect except for the fact Andrew Scott plays Edmund, and no, not Edmund. Oh God, who has the monologue? I heard myself proclaimed. Was that character's name?
Edgar?
Edgar.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays Edgar. But they cut that monologue. They cut them. They just the first line and cuts away from it, and that made me angry. Anyway, but basically, my mum was dealing with him, helping my granddad to sort of move on, and she came home one day, and my brother was watching it on the screen, and there's the scene, if you watch it, well, when you watch it, is I can't remember the lines as such, but he looks at her and says, "I think this lady to be my daughter." And he can't, it's like, I'm paraphrasing here, but I think this lady to
Yeah.
be my daughter. I can't remember, is she my daughter, is she not? And my mum, who's never read Shakespeare in her life and never understood it at all, she said, I don't get it, I don't know, I don't get the language, I don't understand what you're talking about. But she watched that scene and she just went completely to pieces. And and it shows how Shakespeare can belong to all of us. And like I
Yes.
said in the intro, it belongs to you and everything, and it can help. And I'll never forget that, just someone who's never read it in their life, and then suddenly there it was. I think this lady to be my daughter. And she was like, wow, yeah. I don't know, have you ever had an experience like that? Or,
You know, one of my favorite things about my Shakespeare channel is that I've had a lot of people who started following me who said, I never liked Shakespeare before,
mm,
but you inspired me to go pick up a copy of King Lear for the first time since high school. Uh,
wow,
and it makes my day anytime someone sends me that message, and I get it often. And it's, I think people think this language is so far away from them. And when you make it specific and human, like that moment in King Lear, people realize, oh, this is for me. This
yeah,
hasn't changed in 400 years.
yeah.
And it's magical anytime that happens. Um, and I just wanted to add to the film that I'm in that's currently working the festival circuit. It's called A King's Curtain. It just won Best Drama at the LA International
Yeah.
Shorts Festival. It's a
Congratulations.
modern. Thank you very much. We're very excited about it. But it's a modern adaptation of King Lear about an aging actor with Alzheimer's, and how Shakespeare's language is used to reach him. And it's beautiful. Like when you're an actor in a film, you don't have control over the finished product in a way that you do on stage. And so it's like, oh God, I hope this turns out well. And then I saw it for the first time, and I could not have been more proud. It turned out so beautifully.
Mm,
And people who have seen loved ones suffer with dementia and Alzheimer's have said how meaningful the film is, and it very very proud of it. And
yeah,
I think King Lear is one of, it might be my favorite of Shakespeare's tragedies.
yeah,
It's
it's, yeah. I was,
yeah.
hopefully they'll release this. I'm not sure if they will, but hopefully they will. There's a brilliant brilliant version of it, which I saw last year at the there's a theatre here called the Almeida. It's a very intimate theatre. It's absolutely beautiful, and it was directed by someone called Yal Farber, who I was lucky enough to interview earlier this year, and starring someone called Faith Amole, who's also been on here as well. She played, oh God, Faith, you're going to kill me. I'm so sorry. She's going to kill me. Anyway, one of the sisters, and was it Goneril? I think it was Goneril. I think, yeah, one of the ones that go turn evil and stuff. Is that was just sublime. And it's also funny that the running time was 3.5 hours, including an interval, and you could sort of feel some people go 3.5 hours. Oh, Shakespeare. Oh my God. Okay. Well, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. It flew by. Absolutely flew by. The way the actors engaged with the language and inhabited the characters. And I said to Jarl, actually, when I interviewed, I'm pretty sure I did anyway, that was the best King Lear I have seen live. The best King Lear I've ever seen live. If there's a recording that comes out, I will send it your way because, oh God, I've got so many links. I'm gonna send you like 101 links, Sarah. I'm not even sorry.
Please do. I love it.
Yeah. God, it's incredible. What a blessing we have this man's work here for so long, and will continue to be here for so long as well. Wow, Sarah, this has been absolutely incredible. I've absolutely loved talking to you tonight, and I'd love to have you back. Let's do another dissection of like some more monologues and stuff like that in the future. I'd absolutely love to.
I'd be happy to. I'd love that.
Yeah,
Absolute pleasure, Oliver. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's been incredible. I've just got 2 quick fire questions left for you. So it's the final two questions for every guest.
Okay.
So, what would you say was a bit of advice you wish you heard when you were starting out?
Oh. I wish that people had taught me that I can be an actor and still be financially stable and financially literate. When I was in college, I think there's this tendency for teachers to be like, you're going to be broke. You're going to not have money. Like that's just the actor's life. That's what you're signing up for. And I think that it grooms actors into being mistreated and underpaid and underappreciated. And I think that learning financial literacy, like, oh man, I wish I'd known, this sounds like a boring answer, but I wish I'd known what a Roth IRA was when I was 21.
It's not boring at all. Not boring at all.
No, honestly, being an actor and being financially stable and understanding money is only going to make you a better actor, unless you are independently wealthy to begin with, or your dad's famous, which good for you. You've got a leg up on everybody. But otherwise, you're going to have to work survival jobs, and the more money you have to be able to buy that book that on acting that you want to read, or pay for tickets to the theater, or pay for acting class, like it's only going to make you a better actor if you understand money and are good with money and believe that you can have a stable life as an actor. That's one of the things I had to, I discovered that lesson late in life, because during the pandemic, my survival job for years and years has actually been bartending in the Broadway theaters. Which I've loved. Going back to you talking about working as a steward at the Globe, I learned so much. I've learned so much just from seeing performances over and over again. I saw the original cast of Hamilton every night. I would go in and watch it. I'd clean up my bar as fast as I could and go in and watch. But anyway, when the pandemic hit, I had no savings, and my survival job was gone. My acting work was gone. It was a really scary moment, and I just kind of said, never again. This isn't going to happen to me. And so I learned what a Roth IRA was. I learned what, I did the financial basics, and it's just gonna, like I said, it's just gonna make you a better actor. It's gonna make your life much less stressful.
Yeah, no, that's good to know that they never teach you those things, and I think
they don't. Yeah,
that needs to be changed. I think I remember someone saying once, just even thought that of even being an actor. Some people said to him, "Look, if you're going to be an actor, that means you're going to have you're going to have these three traits. You're going to be unemployed, you're going to be single, and you're going to be broke. You know, and all of which is perfectly fine, by the way. I'm not criticizing anyone who's any one of those things.
No,
But
no,
but so many people think that's the life. And of course it's, yeah, in the
it doesn't
beginning.
have to be.
It doesn't have to be. In the beginning, yeah, it is one of
Yeah,
those things, or two of those things, or probably three of those things.
yeah.
But it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it is all three. Doesn't matter if it's two of those things or one of those
No.
things. Doesn't fucking matter.
And
And yeah,
also find survival jobs that you genuinely love. And I
mm,
know it's easier said than done,
yeah.
but
Tell me
things
about
that
it.
yes, yes, but things that because if you bring joy and enthusiasm to your day job, it's going to be that much easier to bring joy and enthusiasm to your work as an actor and in life. I really believe that.
Yeah, and amen to that. Yeah, I do not disagree with you in any shape or form, and that's absolutely right. And finally, today, what would you say has been an experience or experiences you've had in your career up to now that you'll never ever forget?
Oh God. Um, that moment I spoke about earlier when I was playing Hermione, and I absolutely lost myself in that character for that moment. It was, I think, similar to the story you told uh, about Laurence Olivier,
Mm,
and I it was scary and powerful and all those things, but I losing control as an actor, allowing yourself to lose control as an actor, is an incredible moment, and that's one of my favorite moments of that in my work.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that's that's what I would say. Yeah,
of course. I look
you
forward to
do the
seeing.
work so that you can play, and then just let it go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. You do all this work, and then you get to rehearsal, and they say, "All right, forget all about that. Just,
Uh-huh.
just play. Just go for it." You know,
Yeah.
I think it's like get it all in your muscle memory, so you don't have to think about it anymore. It's there in your
Yeah.
body, and now just let it out.
Yeah.
Simple as, really. I know it's easier said than done, but it comes with practice. It comes with practice, practice, practice.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love that. I look forward to your Hermione at the Globe stage at some point. I want to see
Thank
it,
you very
man.
much.
Yeah, I want
I
to
would
see
love
this,
to see
man.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, Sarah, we could probably keep going for another 2 hours doing even more
I'm sure
Shakespeare.
we could.
Yeah,
I love talking Shakespeare with you. You're so enthusiastic and knowledgeable, and it's just fun to be able to go back and forth like this.
no, likewise, I've absolutely loved it. But no, yeah, I'm definitely going to get you back at some point. Let's definitely do this again at some point. I absolutely love to
I'd be
do
honored.
even more stuff. We look at I know we were very male orientated today, so next time we can do the females and stuff. We could do
That sounds
some
good.
Lady Viola or some Beatrice or something. That would be nice, or
Yeah,
something like that.
I love that.
Titania or something. We'll find it. We'll probably do all of them, to be honest. But we'll celebrate the heroines next time. But yeah, Sarah, thank you so much. This has been honestly one of my favorite conversations. I've absolutely loved it, and yeah, I can't wait to do this again at some point. You know, you're amazing, and thank you so much for your time. And
Thank you.
all that's left for me to say is, if you just hang on, I'll finish the recording. You have a tiny debrief afterwards, and you can go back to your NYC life. And then,
Okay.
so yeah, wow, wow, we'll definitely do this again, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been the Uncensored Critic podcast. I'll be back very, very soon. And until next time, Sarah, thank you.
Thank you.